I'm Nathan Skipper with Montgomery Technology Incorporated, and this is session 11 of the MTI Control System Technician Training course. And in this video, we'll be covering how to program an EC using the MTI PLC software application. In the video previous to this, we covered an introduction to that application, and now we'll be looking further at how to actually program the EC once you've made changes to the programming. After you've made the changes that you would like to make to the programming, go down to the bottom and pick the project sheet. It's best to pick the project sheet and then hit the compile button up at the top. That will ask you if you want to go through and compile all sheets, and it will go through the process once you say yes to that. You want to make sure you do that just to ensure that you get all your programming incorporated in the compile. Then from there you can go to View and go to the programmer interface, and that will start on the PLC 2000 tab. You change to the Firefly tab, and it gives you a list over at the right of all the PLCs involved on the system. You can use the checkbox to check a group of them that you want to program, or you can click the Browse button and pick the Firefly file, which is an XML file designated by the processor number. Make sure that you've got the right IP address, and then you can click the program single, or if you've picked from the list, you can pick the program list button. And since we don't have an EC here, it's not programming it and telling us that it couldn't verify. But if you had a PLC, it would go through the process and program it. Next, we're going to look at the system tester, which is a way to tell the system layout. And go to View, System Test, and you'll notice that from left to right, you have kind of a hierarchical view of the system itself. You have the computers and handhelds on the left, the PLCs on the middle there, the field devices, including the 620s and the 643s. And then lastly, the channels associated with that. And for each one of the computers, you'll notice that there's a breakdown of the ECs that are incorporated with that. For each of the ECs, there's a list of 620s involved in that EC. And then if you have it set up, or if the project manager set it up that way, then the 620s will also list out the channels or the sheets involved with that 620. This is something that we typically lay out, but you can also use it. It can also be used, the system tester can also be used to configure a EC or 620 or 643. And you can do that by clicking on the config button, and I don't have this particular 620 or 695 available to me, so it's going to take a little bit for it to realize that. But if you were to get a new EC and it was set to the default IP address, you could click on that and go through and reset the IP address to what you needed it to be. So it would have here the current IP address, which might be the default, which is 1.100. You can change that to a new IP address by setting that in the new IP. The device name, we typically give that by the model name, model number, and then the number of the PLC itself. And then the time server is a setting that where you can set the computer that has a web service set up on it from which you can get your time reference for the embedded controller. That's really important with respect to access control. Once you've done that, you can click the set button, and that will set the IP address and all the settings for that device. Like I said, you can use the same functionality, same type of screen for the 620s and the 643s. You can also use the Find button to find a device on the system, and what that will do is pop up a window asking you for the starting IP address and the end IP address for which you want to search for a device. And from that, it will go out and ping each address and try to find the setting for each and build this, bring back actually the settings form for that device and allow you to set it. So if you have a device that you've purchased and you want to set its IP address based on the default, based on what you want it to be in the field, then you can also use that find function to locate it and set the IP address.